Hello. Fine. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my utmost honor to welcome each and every one of you here today on behalf of the Population Research Center, Institute of Economic Growth, and the Indian Association for the Study of Population, as we gather here today to observe the World Population Day. The United Nations designated July 11th as the World Population Day in the year 1989. Over the years, the day has served as an occasion to reflect and foster dialogues over a number of population-related matters. While the day has been observed in the backdrop of various themes, what has remained constant is the essence of understanding that studying, deliberating upon, and planning for population shall always transcend beyond just the numbers. As it is rightly acclaimed, it may start at Janganna, but Jan Kalyan, loosely translated as people's welfare, is where we shall always find our answers. On that note, please join me in welcoming to the dais our distinguished guests for the day. I request you all to join me in welcoming Ms. Anjali Rawat Ma'am, Deputy Director General, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, to the dais. Madam has spearheaded many transformative initiatives at the ministry over the years, and her unwavering vision has been integral to propelling HMIS, PRCs, and the Statistics Division at large to new heights. Thank you for your presence here today, ma'am. I now request Professor Chetan Ghate, sir, Director, Institute of Economic Growth, to please join the dais. Sir's research contributions to the areas of macroeconomics, monetary economics, and growth and development have been truly invaluable. We look forward to your enlightening input, sir. Please join me in welcoming to the dais Professor K. Srinivasan, a scholarly laureate, a savant. Sir's extensive work in the field of demography has left an indelible mark. Sir, we most greatly appreciate your presence here today and look forward to your profound insights and perspectives. May I now request Ms. Andrea Warner, Country Representative India, UNFPA, to please join the dais. Madam Warner's work and deliberations in advocating a gendered lens to health and population issues has been remarkably impactful. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for gracing us with your presence today. May I now request Dr. Niranjan Saguti, sir, Country Director of India, Population Council, to please join the dais. Sir's exceptional contributions to the field of policy research have been pivotal in advancing public health dialogues in the country. Sir, it is an honor to have you with us today, and we look forward to enriching discussions and insights. Joining the dais next is Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, Joint Secretary, Indian Association for the Study of Population. Sir is presently affiliated with PARTH, and his unstinting efforts in the strengthening of IASP are truly notable. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us here today. It is my distinct honor to invite to the dais Professor Suresh Sharma, President IASP and Head of the Population Research Center, Delhi. Sir's relentless pursuit of excellence has truly been instrumental in solidifying IASP's position and in strengthening of the PRC. Happy hosting, sir. As the dais looks green, I once again take this opportunity to thank our esteemed guests for joining us today. May I request our guests to kindly proceed for the ceremonial lamp lighting. Further, we request all our esteemed guests to gather around the revered Professor V.K.R.V. Rao's bust, which is near the library, where we all will be offering garlands as a mark of respect to the renowned educationist, economist, and a leader that Professor V.K.R.V. Rao was and remains. Thank you. So I'll start. The sessions, I request you all to please join me in expressing our gratitude and appreciation to our distinguished guests on the dais. May I request Professor Chetan Ghate sir to present the mementos and bouquets as a token of our regards and respect to the esteemed guests on the dais. Request Madam Anjali Rawat to accept this symbolic memento, please. To Professor K. Srinivasan, sir, please. To Madam Andrea Warner, please. To Dr. Niranjan Saguti, sir, please. To Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. In a moment that embodies the value of appreciation and gratitude, may I please request Professor Suresh Sharma to kindly present mementos to our revered officials from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare who have joined us here today. May I please request Madam Preeti Tiwari, Assistant Director, MOHFW, to join us at the center stage. Request Rajiv Ahuja sir to please come forward. Satyendra sir. Satyendra sir. Meenakshi ma'am. Satyendra sir के बाद Rakesh sir and then Tamal sir. Request Rakesh sir to please come forward. Tamil sir is not here. Tamil sir is not here. Tamil sir. Okay. Request Ritu ma'am to please come forward and accept the symbolic memento, please. Finally, may I please request DDG Madam to kindly present a memento of appreciation to Professor Suresh Sharma. Ma'am. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Once again, a heartfelt thank you to all for being a part of this event. I now request Professor Suresh Sharma to please deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. It is great honor and privilege to very warm welcome to our guests on behalf of Indian Association for the Study of Population and Population Research Center, Institute of Economic Growth. Our guest, Madam Anjali Rawat, Deputy Director General, Ministry Health and Family Welfare, Professor K. Srinivasan, former Director, Institute of IIPS Bombay, and Chairperson of IASP BOT, and Professor Chetan Ghate, Director of Institute of Economic Growth, and Madam Andrea Bojnar, country representative, UNFPA, India and Bhutan, and Dr. Niranjan, country director, POP Council, and my colleagues, Dr. Ajay, Joint Secretary, IASP, and our other distinguished, institute, and EC and BOT member of IASP, and all the participants, very warm welcome on this Bird Population Day. The Bird Population Day is an annual event to aware the general population issues. On the 11th July every year, Bird Population Day, since first observed in 11th July 1990. The Bird Population Day was established by Governing Council of United Nations and Development Program in 1989. The issue was raised by the public interest, which was bird population reached 5 million population in 1989. The Bird Population Day aimed to aware to general masses to various population issues like importance of family planning and poverty and gender equality, maternal mortality and reproductive health and human rights, etc. So PRC, every year PRC Delhi celebrated Bird Population Day jointly with Indian Association for the Population of Study. The ISP is the professional body, um, demographers and public health scientists. The ISP is the oldest association in the country and got registered in 1971 by the Institute of Economic Growth. So now I would like to thank Ministry of Health and Family Welfare to providing financial assistance for organizing this event. I like to special thanks to Madam Anjali Rawat, and her team to provide financial assistance to all the PRC for good health. So once again, I would like to all the dignitary very warm welcome, and my EC and BOT member of ISP, and all the participants from the different institute, like welcome to USID, Dr. Mandal. So thank you very much, and thank you for this.
To set the tone for this enlightening event, may I request Professor Chetan Ghate sir to formally declare the event open.
Thank you very much. And let me join Suresh with welcoming Andrea Wonar, Professor Srinivasan, Mrs. Rawat, Ajay, Niranjan. Thanks very much for being here, and to all the distinguished participants here today. I was asked to set the tone, so here's my tone. The world is in a new phrase that is being used is polycrisis. That's the catchy phrase that's being used. And the leading think tank that does work on the concept of a polycrisis is an institute in Canada called the Cascade Institute. And this is how they define what a polycrisis is. A global polycrisis occurs when crises in multiple global systems become causally entangled in a way that significantly degrades humanity's prospects. These interacting crises produce harm greater than the sum of those crises would produce in isolation, were their host systems not so deeply interconnected. Okay? So I think as we celebrate World Population Day, it's important to talk about population issues in the context of a polycrisis. So let me just paint a canvas of what I think is going on here. So as we all know, there are lots of shocks hitting the global economy, and they're all coming together and interacting, right? And there are shifts in environments, in geopolitical environments, and economic environments. And a major shift in this is demography. That's why today is important. Now, what's happening in demography? Well, I mean, I think this is the first World Population Day that is being celebrated after India has overtaken China in population numbers. And I was just speaking to Anjali here, and she was saying that there's no clear projections right now of where populations are going, but I've seen one that says that India's population in 2100 is going to be roughly 1.5 billion. It's going to peak to 1.7 billion around 2070. I think that's a bit of a pessimistic case. It could peak before, but then it tapers off to 1.5 billion. China will become 750 million from roughly 1.4 billion today. So we'll be twice the size of China in about 77 years. Okay. Now, that's one trend. Second, population balance is shifting from high-income countries to essentially one part of the world, which is sub-Saharan Africa. That's where you see a lot of the growth. And so you see this divergence in aging. We always talk about divergence in incomes across the world, but you also see this divergence in aging, and it's happening in a staggered way. It's happening across countries in different periods of time. And the world's rich countries are getting old and older. The second part of this polycrisis is rise of the East. Developing countries, you may remember Gunnar Myrdal's 1968 magnum opus called The Asian Drama, which was a very pessimistic take on Asia's prospects 50 years, 60 years ago, but where Asia was going to stand. And developing countries today account for 60% of global nominal GDP. This is not in PPP terms. This is in global nominal GDP terms. So that kind of prognosis went wrong. The third part of this polycrisis thing, we see deglobalization, and there are all kinds of neologisms out there, right? So there's another one called slowbalization. So we don't seem to be integrating more in goods, but we're also not rapidly disintegrating in goods. And then there's also the issue of integration in services and in financial transactions. That may be actually increasing. So there were two periods of great global integration. One was the late 19th and early 20th century, and then one was the period after World War II till about 1991. Remember, that period of globalization had much more capital account management compared to the period of hyperglobalization that has preceded afterwards. So this is another trend that is going on that kind of fits into this picture of what a polycrisis is deglobalization. Number 4, global warming. And now there seems to be more or less a consensus that the planet is going to pass 1.5 degrees Celsius sometime in the 2030s. And that we have to, we kind of have to accept it and plan on that. So the next, and this is a pessimistic view, it's out there, that the next 2 decades is basically going to be adaptation. And really what the advanced countries do in terms of mitigation now doesn't really matter. Okay? What really matters is what the developing countries do in terms of mitigation. So if you know from pre-industrial times, from about 1750 to now we're in 2023, last 70 years, but 70% of the global stock of carbon is because of EU and the US, right? But now if you look at emissions, about 65% of emissions are coming from the developing world, primarily China and India. So this is going to be an issue. There's a stock, there's a flow, but we're probably going to hit this 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next 10 years. And the last one, which is a part of this picture of a polycrisis, is whether artificial intelligence is going to cause a shift in productivity growth. So as you all know that in many advanced economies, growth has slowed, but growth has slowed because productivity growth has slowed. But compared to the advanced economies, if you look at Asia since the 1990s, productivity growth is far more synchronized. Okay? It's not as disparate as it is in the advanced economies. But the major economies are showing slower productivity growth. That possibly could be because of the slower impact of technology and innovation. Right? The gains from artificial intelligence have not been seen yet, and they may be in the future. And this is quite telling. So you may remember in 1965, Gordon Moore wrote an article about the number of transistors that you could put on a computer chip. And when you look at that data, right, so 1975, we could put about 65,000 transistors on a computer chip. In 2023, we put 11.8 billion transistors on a computer chip. Okay? But the question there is, are we hitting a limit? Right? So these are kind of underlying things. So when we think about demography, demographic change, and how it interacts with economic prosperity and economic progress, it's happening in the wider context of these underlying trends. And it's important to look at these trends and these pictures. So that's the tone that I'd like to set. And I wish this event a great success, and thank you for having me speak.
Thank you very much, sir. You indeed left us with a thought-provoking canvas here. We will now commence with our first session of the day. The United Nations declares a theme for World Population Day each year. For this year, that is the year 2023, the theme is Unleashing the Power of Gender Equality, Uplifting the Voices of Women and Girls to Unlock Our World's Infinite Possibilities. Our first session will be broadly focused on the discourses around health. Throughout this session, we will have the privilege of hearing from distinguished speakers, experts in the field, and individuals who have made significant contributions to population matters. To guide us through the discussion that lie ahead, let us first hear from our distinguished chair of this session, Madam Anjali Rawat. May I please request ma'am to deliver the opening remarks for this session?
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, all my experts present on the dais. So my opening remarks would be more general remarks, not related to the session as such, because we were expecting our DG sir to be here, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, he's not able to attend today's celebrations here. So I welcome you all on the behalf of Ministry, PRC, and of course IEG, who's present here with us on this occasion of World Population Day. And generally these days are celebrated to remind us and to reflect upon the challenges and opportunities that are there due to this ever-growing population. So we need to address the complex issues associated with population growth, demographic changes, and their impact on various aspects of society. So as Professor Chetan Khate sir has already given you a term today, polycrisis. So I think you should go through it and learn, and it gives you an insight of how we're going to handle the ever-increasing population. So on the behalf of the ministry, we have been making a lot of efforts to work towards the population health. So when it is concerned population, in my future lecture, which I'll be delivering today, we'll be highlighting on 3 parameters of population health. And one of the parameters of this population health is how to see what services are actually being provided in the field. So there's a lot of things which are being done by the ministry to, to cater to this increasing population, to work towards the health improvement of this increasing population, and to reach to the people who are not easily reachable. So there's a lot of things which is associated on the health aspect if we reflect on the population side as well. So we'll be discussing that during my lecture later on. So I welcome you all, and we'll look forward to fruitful discussions during the day. Thank you so much. So if you're okay with it, we can start with the first session. So the next lecture. Felicitation.
Today, we have the distinct honor of welcoming a true luminary in the field of demography and population health, none other than Professor K. Srinivasan. Sir's remarkable achievements and contributions have earned him widespread acclaim and recognition. Before we proceed with what I'm sure would be a very insightful talk, we would like to take a moment to felicitate him on his recent accolade. Professor K. Srinivasan is an eminent scholar and leader in the field of demography. With a distinguished academic record, including degrees in mathematics, statistics, and a Master of Public Health from the Harvard University, Sir has made valuable contributions to population studies and programs since 1959. Professor Srinivasan has served on various national and international committees, played a key role in initiating In continuing over the brief, Professor Srinivasan has served on various national and international committees, played a key role in initiating the National Family Health Survey in India, and expanded the International Institute for Population Sciences, Mumbai, during his tenure as director. His extensive research, publications, and recognition from organizations like the United Nations and the Government of India attest to his exceptional expertise and dedication to the field of demography. In recognizing Sir's invaluable contributions to the field of population health at large, the International Union for the Scientific Study of Population, that is the IUSSP, awarded Professor Krishnamurthy Srinivasan as the IUSSP laureate on March 9, 2023. Special mention here that this is one of the most notable honors in this field. With this recognition, Sir brings a great pride to not only the community of demographers, but to the country at large, as Sir remains the first Indian demographer to have been awarded this honor. With the felicitation already behind us, may I please, we eagerly await the enlightening talk, sir. May I please welcome you to initiate the presentation. Sir, if you'd like to speak from there, you can speak from there. I'll manage the presentation for you.
Thank you, Suresh, Dr. Gade, and the organizers of this conference. Thank you for honoring me on this occasion. I'm sorry I'm sitting and talking. I would like to do that, but I think the organizers don't trust my health there. I think so. Anyway, there is a lot of pessimistic views on what is going to be the future, especially India crossing the billion mark. But I think India also holds a hope for humanity. Let me talk about one hope, and that is about the institution of marriage. While the institution of marriage is breaking down so fast in almost all the developed countries, in India it is holding on. And I'll give you some figures how it is holding on. And my guess is it is going to hold on for some more years, some more decades. And this is one of the ray of good light, because with the breakdown of marriages in the West, a lot of sociological, psychological, and other problems arose, because we have got, say, in England, 50% of the births last year was to single mothers. And this percentage is roughly going between 50, 60, 45, 50 in most of the European countries. USA is slightly less. But India holds the light as whether the institution of marriage can sustain the onslaught of improvement of gender equity, improvement of human development, and industrialization. So let me start with some presentations. People may question it. I am also questioned by other demographers. Wait and watch, it's going to collapse. You see, I have waited for 10 years so far. I wrote the paper with James in 2017 on titled The Golden Cage, the stability of marriages in India. So people who are gender-oriented, they said, you are trapping women in the institution of marriage. It is not good for them. But I said, if they are there on their own interest and their own future, what's wrong in that? So let me start with some slides to show this. Now, first one, I think let me go there.
There is also. Sir, are you comfortable with this?
Yeah. Well, let me start with some introductions. The theme of the World Population Day, it is 2023, 11 July, as stated in the Google. But what is stated in the Google and what is given by the UNFP are very different. I don't know which is right. How to safeguard the health and rights of women now. On this day, I would like to talk about two themes. One, improvements in Human Development Index and Gender Parity Index in India and selected states. And two, continuing stability in the institution of marriage in India, even in the context of improvements in gender parity, unlike in the Western world. Next. You see, this is by the Government of India. Anjali will know about it. The HDI for India and selected states, prepared by Government of India, published last year. It says even for HDI for Bihar, increase from 0.237 to 0.551. For Kerala, 0.5 to 0.775. Tamil Nadu. All the states, including UP, Bihar, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, all are moving and converging to a number. So this is the conclusion. The Human Development Index, which combines indicators of income, education and health into a composite index, has increased steadily over the years. For the country as a whole, from 0.30 to 635, almost doubled from 1981 to 2011. And for every state, there is an improvement. So we have something to cheer about. Now, if you see the gender disparity index, it is computed as a ratio of women to men. That is, what proportion of women in the age group 20 to 24 have completed schooling, high school, divided by what proportion have completed among men. So if it is 1, that means gender parity is absolutely equal. If it is more than 1, women are better than men. Less than 1. You see here, Kerala 0.872. Now it is 0.963, close to 1. Everywhere it is improving. Even if you take Bihar, it is quite, increase is quite small, 0.4712 to 0.55. So GDI is computed in such a way that a value of 1, that's what I told you. So everywhere there is an increase. So we are developing. Please don't think that, of course, relative development, both in HDI and GDI, we are developing. Now what happens? When the gender equity index was about 0.7, in the Western countries, the institution of marriage started collapsing. Of course, not only this part, the breakdown happened so quickly from the 1960s. So improving gender equity has significantly contributed to a breakdown in the institution of marriage as measured by increasing 3 factors: the increasing divorce rates, rise in living arrangements, and children with single women. If you take these 3 indexes, the breakdown is so rapid. This impact of gender equity on the breakdown of the institution of marriage is attributed to 4 factors. A lot of literature has come on this. Rise in individualism, economic independence of women, rising cost of marriage, skill specialization, and movement towards gender equality. In India, there are overall improvements in many development indicators implied in HDI, and improvement in the conditions of females relative to males implied in GDI, particularly gender empowerment. At the same time, this surprised me also. Marriage as an institution remains nearly intact in the country as it was 50 years back. This is against the experience of many other countries where rapid changes have been observed in the marriage patterns. Indian women in all states, more developed as less developed, prefer to get married even at older ages than remaining single, as experienced in many other countries. Once married, the percentages of divorced and separated are quite low in all age groups. We'll give you the facts. In these 2 aspects, there are sharp differences between India, irrespective of Kerala or UP, and the developed countries of Western Japan. That is, even if you control for GDI, HDI, our marriage rate is very high, almost universal. Divorce rate is very negligible. You see, this is the singularity mean age at marriage in India from 1891 to 1901 to 2011, almost 100 years. See, it has increased quite a lot for men, and almost now 25, 26 years for men, 22 for women, singularity mean age. Very few women remain single in India by age 35. Even in Kerala, where the gender parity is quite good. Women are as much empowered as there. The age at marriage is increasing. But by 30 to 34, most of the women get married. You see here, indeed, higher proportion of never married in Kerala in the past has come down in recent times. This further comes down as the age advances. Only negligible proportion of females remain unmarried in India, Kerala as well as UP. This took me by surprise. Now, you take just the percentage diverged in developed countries in the age 30 to 34 among women. France, 2.75%, Germany, 3.8%, Japan, 4.49%, UK, 3.06%, India, 0.3%. This is NFHS data. This is not data registered. So, in West, few women marry, and among those who marry, divorce rates are high. See, remaining single is becoming very common in many other countries. Almost a quarter of women in France and 1/5 in Japan and Germany remain single even at age 45 to 49. So this is the percentage of women remaining single in different ages, India and the States. Comparing NFHS 4 and 5 data on percentage single and widowed and separated in ages 35 to 39, just 4 and 5. I think 4 was done in 2015-16. 5 was 2018 to 20. The percent of women single and divorced or separated, the following observations emerge. 1, the percent of women unmarried by age 40 was 1.34% in 2015-16. Survey data, and fell down to 1.21 during 2019-21, while in Kerala also as low as 1.62. We did it by controlling marriage, controlling age, education, everything, but the percentage single remains quite low. The percent divorced or separated were also low in India, 1.58 and 1.25. Thus, not only marriage is universal, but divorce and separations among married are very low in India compared to Western countries. Now, I have got the divorce and separation rates here for different states. You can see it is quite low. Now, births outside marriage. This is the havoc that is playing whole of Europe and Western countries. In India, NFHS none reported, I don't know. France, 54% last year. Germany, 33%. UK, 46.9%. Japan, 2.2%. Japan is quite low, births outside marriage. This is because many women don't marry there. Almost 1/3 of the women in 40 to 44 remain unmarried. So this is the conclusions. The institution of marriage has not been affected so far by the economic and social development programs in the country and improved gender parity. Unlike in the West, where the institution of marriage is getting broken down as reflected in larger proportion of women age groups 30 to 34, 40 to 44 remaining single, increasing divorce rates, even among the smaller proportions who marry, an increasing number of births to single mothers. In all these 3 parameters, marriages in India are stable. Will it continue to be so in the future? Let us hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very enlightening session. While it is a very optimist viewpoint that the institution of marriage in India remains unshaken, but here's hoping for marriage of equals as we move ahead in the future. Next, for the session, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Niranjan Sagurti, Director of Population Council's Office in India. With over 20 years of experience as a public health researcher, Dr. Sagurti has made significant contributions to the studies on HIV prevention, gender-based violence, and marginalized women's health in India. His pioneering research on migration and HIV has reshaped national strategies, and his work on spousal transmission of HIV has influenced international policy debates. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Niranjan Sagurti as he shares his expertise with us today. Your presentation should...
Thanks so much, and good morning, everyone, and greetings on the World Population Day. Let me first thank IASP and the IEG for giving me the opportunity to speak on this occasion. Respected dignitaries on the dais, my dear colleagues and friends, it is my honor to standing in front of you to talk on the subject that is most passionate for me. That's the India's youth. So I'll touch upon the India's youth and the Sustainable Development Goals. In that context, we all know why we need to speak about the adolescents and youth in the country, but I'll little bit lay down on the context. Why do we need to focus our attention more intentionally on the adolescents and youth? And also the 4 areas that are most critical for the Sustainable Development Goals that I'll pick up: health, technology, education, and the 4th area is to really speak about the employment. So before I go deep into that subject, I want to first highlight a couple of data points from the recently released UNFPA report on the 8 billion lives, infinite possibilities. You might know it already, and I found the report very interesting from the perspective of how the report has integrated the people's voices in different sections of that of the report. And there was several questions that were asked to the youth population and also to the general individuals in building the report from the UNFPA. And one question that was asked to people in the select countries on their views about the population size and fertility. In India, over 80% of the surveyed individuals said that our country's population is too high. At the same time, almost 50% of the same people said that the country's fertility is high too. So we all can now understand that how we need to double our efforts in educating what this whole population and fertility and how these dimensions are linked with one another. There is a much more effort that is required. And there was another data point which I found interesting, because the more you go into that data that's presented in the report, it was very interesting to read. Another question that was asked: what are you most concerned about today? Around 2/3 of and it was a multiple response question, and around 2/3 of the people who were surveyed reported that the economy is the concern in India, followed by 46% reported the environmental issues, 30% on sexual reproductive health, and 20% on the tensions and the conflicts. While the economic concerns dominate others across the countries where the survey was done, the environmental and SRH issues were also expressed as concerns by most people in India and Nigeria. And why I'm bringing Nigeria into this mix of comparison, as you can understand how these 2 countries, India and Nigeria, is experiencing the rapid demographic transition. And these perceptions actually have a very relevance to on how we shape India's the adolescent and youth's future, or how the adolescent and youth can shape the future of India. We all know that the 1 in every 6 people in the world are adolescents, are in the youth age group of 15 to 24 years. And in India, this number is little large, 1 in 5 every 5 people. As a country, we are youthful, that we know. While we're all waiting for census to happen to get the numbers right, the absolute number of youth population stands around 250 million. If we expand this to definition to cover also the 10 to 14 age group, where the more advancement and the exposure that's immense at the moment, it translates to you add another 125 million people to that 250 million. And there is a whole lot of this whole population distribution across the country. If you look at the absolute numbers based on the estimated number of people in India, about 577 districts in India have got more than 15% adolescent population. And more than half of these 577 districts have got more than 20% of the adolescent population. So that's the population context that we are talking about. And we are currently experiencing the rapid urbanization. There is a whole lot of discussion about how the urbanization is taking place and how cities are progressing. But when we look at the population distribution by the urban and rural areas, the most of the adolescent and youth population are concentrated in rural areas. That's a note for us to consider. And I don't need to say this, but how these numbers depend largely on the fertility transition and the migration and many other factors that influence. And reaching SDG goals will depend largely on the practices and behaviors of the young people. And as a country, the progress that we are making on different dimensions, that education, technology, health, and employment, which directly affects the youth, needs a critical review on the day like this and in the future going forward as well for all of us. Just to quote some numbers on each of these dimensions. On education, for example, India has witnessed the universalization of school enrollment for both boys and girls. And we have also witnessed a significant improvement in secondary school completion, but not beyond. Gross enrollment ratio, if we look at in higher secondary level, it's about 50%. If we have to really get to that 100%, there is a miles to go. And at the same time, average annual dropout rate during the secondary level is about 18%. Even for the SDG to make it half, the 9%, there is a huge amount of work that we need to do. Our own studies, Population Council studies in Bihar and UP, have indicated that the reasons for dropping out from school, they were gendered. For example, the lack of interest in studies and paid work are the primary reasons for the discontinuation of boys. Whereas in case of girls, the lack of interest, marriage, and the family's inability to afford the cost of education were the dominant reasons for girls. The gross enrollment ratio, if we look at for boys and girls above the higher education, it's only 26%, and there is a huge gender gap in that. It's even less than half for the girls. On the other hand, the quality of teaching and learning ability continues to be a challenge in many places. And we have evidence from our own studies as well as from other studies, published studies in India, that about the challenges with the quality of teaching, not just the quality of teaching, but also the ability of learning and the way that the adolescents are given education. And COVID-19, in fact, has pushed these issues into a serious condition in an emergency situation, actually. So the SDG target of all youth being part of formal and non-formal education is really far from reality unless we act now. On the technology front, which is my second domain that I've chosen for discussion, the changes were rapid in the recent past across the world, more so in India, and the India's youths are contributing significantly to this change. But SDG goal speaks about all youth with the required ICT skill. Since the time the goal was set, the technological advancement was immense, but are our India's youth at par? That's our question. In terms of the technology access, we know that there is a huge gender and economic gaps exist. Many studies, whether we take NFHS or the PopCouncil's Udaya study or other rapid research conducted in different parts of the country, shows that the digital access for youth indicated a huge gender divide in possession of digital devices and its use. Further, youth's access to technology is different between those living in urban areas and rural areas. And I'm reminding to the context that where the youth largely concentrated as of today. And in terms of technology use, we conducted as recent as this year, a study of older adolescent girls in 3 cities in India. And the results showed that the girls who had access to technology, and this is among those who had access to the technology, the use is limited to the videos, music, social media, but very few girls reported using it for education and economic purposes. These results stayed same as the data that we collected through our longitudinal studies several years back. So which means that is a whole lot of that how the technology is used also need to be considered. And I'm here quoting the results of multiple indicator survey that was done by NSSO in 2020-21, which was published last month. More than 70% of India youth aged between 15 and 29, and these are results that are shocking actually, that between age 15 and 29 cannot send emails with files attached. Nearly 60% cannot copy and move a file or folder. Over 80% cannot transfer files between a computer and other devices. And only 9% can create electronic presentations with the presentation software. So imagine where we are. Now let me move to the third domain, which is the health domain. And I'll talk briefly about the sexual and health risks because the SDG clearly states that the universal access to the sexual and reproductive health services. The goal, while we are moving in the right direction in terms of making contraceptives available, but are we reaching the population, are we reaching everyone? For example, the demand satisfied by modern methods of contraception, which is one of the indicators that I don't really personally like, but the fact that that's the indicator that's chosen to assess the universal access to the contraceptive services, is by and large at a 75%, which seems like, okay, we are reaching large. But when you look at that for the adolescent and youth, it's only 50%. Which means that there is a huge gap in terms of whom we are reaching and whom we are not reaching. And on the other hand, the teenage pregnancies, although they declined over time, still over 118 districts in India have reported more than 10% of the teenage pregnancies. And the challenge is not about that large number of districts having the teenage pregnancies, but more about the 93 districts of these 118 have been identified to have over 10% for several decades now. And they are distributed in different states of the country. It's not limited to very, very focused set of states. Wherever the adolescent and youth population size is high in the districts, the data indicates that the child marriage rates and teenage pregnancies are high too. So there is a huge puzzle that one needs to really look at and work on. On the other side, the emerging trend of infertility and couples not having children are, I respectfully present a different perspective than Professor Srinivasan sir when he said about the people are marrying, staying in the marriage. The data, some indicates that how women and men are choosing not to marry can't be really overlooked. So there may be the trend that we may be getting in there. And we have several lessons to be learned from some of the countries in the world that have been experiencing negative population growth and its consequences. If I list down the number of issues in health, for the adolescents and youth, there are many. And just to quote one example, anemia, the Comprehensive National Nutrition Survey indicates that 28% of the adolescents in the age group of 10 to 19 have got anemia. And when do we end the anemia? And how do we prioritize the youth for meeting the sustainable development goals for health? And the last thing that actually pains is about the increasing rates of suicides among adolescents. And we have been witnessing the news reports that comes with a lot of these suicidal deaths, particularly in the adolescents and youth, which is heart-touching. The fourth subject that I would like to touch upon, and this is the last one, is about the work participation of the youth. According to the data, percentage of males in the age group of 15 to 24 years who are currently working is about 50%. And the same for the women youth who are currently working is only 18%. So the question is, are they remaining in school or college? Answer is big no. Because the need rates, not in employment and not in education, they're very high. And the women's need rates are more than 4 times than those of men in 2019. While the need rates are declining over time for the age group of 15 to 24 years, the gender divide in the need, among males it is 13% and among females it is 47%. That continues to remain. So we need to make a very focused and intentional attention on the adolescents and youth. In conclusion, despite all these challenges, I must say that India's country situation, having huge number of young people, is encouraging, and our future is bright. We have had the examples of young entrepreneurs launching startups such as Ola, Flipkart, Paytm, Zomato, among us many others. Indian youth's aptitude combined with the field of artificial intelligence, data science, is redefining how we imagine the world 25 years ago. And youth's participation in addressing some of these social challenges of education, healthcare, rural development, and poverty are also commendable. And also today's youth is vocal. And the voice of youth has to and will write the future for India. And their energy, talent, and determination have a huge role in the years ahead to meet the achievement of SDGs by 2030 and beyond. The question is, are we doing enough to ensure the youth have all the required tools, resources, and environment to make a difference? And the key message is we can't afford to fail on a single SDG whatsoever. And India's youth can make it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The fact that India houses the largest adolescent population today really puts in perspective the significance of championing for youth rights holistically across all the 4 domains as we have discussed here. Ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Ms. Andrea Warner. As the resident representative for the UNFPA India and the country director for Bhutan, Ms. Warner has dedicatedly championed women's and girls' rights, advocated for youth rights, and have promoted evidence-based policies for sustainable development. With her extensive experience across multiple countries and organizations, Madam brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our event today. Let us warmly welcome Ms. Andrea Warner as she delivers the keynote address, guiding us towards a future of inclusivity and empowerment for all. Thank you.
Dear dignitaries, it's such a great pleasure to be here again this year to celebrate World Population Day with you and to deliver this keynote address. At this well-known Institute of Economic Growth, whose founder we celebrated this morning and paid honor and tribute to. UNFPA globally is very keen to see a stronger linkage between population issues and political economy. Policymakers are increasingly demanding more and more sophisticated analyses of the economic implications of demographics. So you are the perfect fertile ground for such interdisciplinary work, and for that I thank you. Since I spoke here in July of 2022, two notable demographic events with global implications have taken place, and they have been mentioned already. First, the world population crossed 8 billion last November, and we got a lot of phone calls at UNFPA. Who's the 8th billionth? Well, you know what? We don't know, and it doesn't really matter. And it didn't really matter even on which day. What mattered was that we had reached that threshold. Never before has the planet welcomed so many people. And while our esteemed director speaks of polycrises and the threat that these pose to humanity, I prefer to take the side of Dr. Niranjan and the side of hope. We believe at UNFPA that ours is a world of hope and possibility, where the human family is larger than ever before, but it's also a world in which we're living collectively longer, enjoying better health, more rights, and broader choices than at any other point in human history. And the data shows this. But ours is also a world of anxieties, where we're forever fixated on population numbers and fertility targets. And indeed, we still find the use of population stabilization very much being used in certain corners. But these are really unnecessary worries. What really should worry us, and this is my topic today, is that women and girls make up 49.7% of the global population, and yet their desires for their lives, for their families, and their careers are often ignored in discussions on demographics, and their rights violated in population policies. So instead of addressing reproductive autonomy, we often obsessed with TFR, fertility rates. And instead of ensuring that family planning services reach everybody who wants it, we obsess, and I think Niranjan laid it out quite clearly. Clearly there's a lot of unmet need out there that isn't being met. We obsess with what is the ideal size of a family, a community, a country, and even what the world ought to be. So I'm here to tell you again, it's not about the numbers. It's about the quality of the lives of the individuals. And as you very clearly stated, Dr. Suresh. So we must focus on the current world that excludes and marginalizes and limits the potential of virtually every other person on the planet. And I'm talking about women, 1 out of 2. And it's a problem that will prevent everybody in this room and beyond, not just women and girls, from experiencing a more prosperous, peaceful, and sustainable future. At the root of the problem is gender inequality. So while Dr. Srinivasan, a professor, says that there is progress being made, and he gave the data, it's true, we still have a long way to go. And it's not just in India. I think we've all seen the data that came out and the statements made at Davos earlier this year with the COVID crisis. It will take 300 additional years to reach gender equality. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not prepared to wait that long. And I don't think my children are either. So I'm here to make the case for reproductive autonomy, for healthier lives for women and girls, but really also for a healthier, more productive, more stable India and a globe. 30 years ago at the International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo. And I'm always happy to say that this is one audience where I can speak about Cairo and pretty much everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's not the case in other fora that I speak in. But that was really a shifting point where attention was turned away from population control ideologies and towards, as Dr. Suresh mentioned, women's autonomy and freedom. And for those younger folk in the audience, you might not know that actually it was the famous Beijing conference for women that took place the following year. So ICPD really was a watershed turning point moment. And frankly, the principles that it brought out in terms of considering population and development policies, especially sexual and reproductive health, with women's empowerment as the reference point, are still valid. And we're all engrossed in the SDGs, and we're in the halfway mark towards 2030. But frankly, what came out of the ICPD conference is still extremely sound. And from our perspective at UNFPA, we believe we need to actually have a further return back to the issue of gender equality, because it's still not coming out in the SDGs. So what does this mean for India, and how to unlock India's full potential? I think you saw in November when the world population hit 8 billion, the headlines went crazy, disaster, demographic disaster, crisis, what to do about all this. Well, we chose to take a different perspective, and we chose to say that no, actually, it's a huge opportunity for India, and it's actually an extremely positive thing. And Niranjan pointed out some of the reasons why. This is a wealth that India has that many other countries are crying for and wish they still had. But gender equality and women's empowerment is going to be the key to unlocking this country's future. And if you look at the data as compared to the big neighbor to the north, they have succeeded to rise their GDP quite high through many tactics and many strategies. But if you look at their gender equality, it's extremely high. It's extremely high. If you look at the data across the world, where gender parity, gender equality exists, you have the most sustainable, the most wealthy, the populations with the greatest well-being, according to the indicators that are laid out here. So, you demographers here, you know the statistics very well. India's significant increase in life expectancy at birth is fantastic. Indians are now living a decade longer compared to the 1990s. And a female born today is expected to live to 71.5 years, which is 3 years higher than men, although that's not unusual, as you know, in the world. Tremendous progress on maternal health in India. Maternal mortality has fallen from 254 per 100,000 to 97 currently. And that's an extremely big achievement. And the progress continues. There's also been excellent progress on reducing child marriages. They've been halved since the early 2000s. And adolescent pregnancy, while still a problem, has also dropped significantly. Access to essential services like health and education is also visible, albeit with the gaps that my colleagues have pointed out. But of course, it has played an enormous role in these various improvements. Some say this is India's century. Others say India's sweet spot for growth and development lies in the next 2 to 3 decades only. I say it's a race against time. It's not that the population shouldn't grow. It's not that we should worry about the population. What we should worry about for India is its ability to provide for its citizenry, to ensure that each and every one of those 1.4 billion people today can achieve his or her potential through full health and education and employment. So again, what's the key? It's all about gender equality. So I want to commend the government of India on this World Population Day for providing a very straightforward package and practical directive which highlights the importance of reaching out to each and every beneficiary with a package of reproductive health services and modern contraceptives, enhancing access to comprehensive abortion care and a range of other services. I want to commend the government also for its initiatives to introduce new modern methods of contraceptives, and UNFPA has been working directly with the government for the introduction of these new methods, which you will see and hear about shortly this month. And those are in the form of new subdermal implants and subcutaneous injections under the National Family Planning Program, which will greatly facilitate choices for women and girls and couples. So if things are getting better and we have more choices, we have to ask ourselves, why then are still so many women deprived of their bodily autonomy? The most recent data worldwide from 68 countries shows that an estimated 44% of partnered women are unable to make decisions over healthcare, sex, or contraception. This is 68 countries, not just India. So the result is, and you might have seen this in our world State of the World's Population report that came out in March, the result is that nearly half of all pregnancies worldwide are unintended. And this holds true for India. And this is a basic abrogation of women's rights. It's a person's right to choose. We're not animals. We shouldn't be subject to the consequences of sexual reproduction at any time. We have the ability to control. We need to make sure that people have that option should they want it. Just like, and I hope you realize, we need to make sure that people who want to have children have access to infertility treatments. And we often don't talk about that. We don't talk about it in developing countries, but frankly, we need to talk about it more and more. Because it's, when we talk about rights and choices, it's not just rights and choices to not have children. It's about rights and choices to have children. And that's what we mean from UNFPA perspective. In terms of bodily autonomy, women's vulnerability to violence, harmful practices, and preventable maternal death. These also are preventing India from achieving the infinite possibilities it has in front of them. So again, great progress has been made, but we know from NHFS 5 that only 10% of women are able to make independent decisions about their health. 10%. And 11% of women feel that spousal violence is justified if a woman refuses to have sexual relations with her husband. These are women who feel this, not just men. So in line with global trends, as I said, India experiences half of all its pregnancies as being unwanted. So again, imagine if you didn't want something to happen to your body and it happened without your consent. How would you feel? Especially if it could be life-altering and life-threatening. So I very much appreciate Dr. Suresh's opening remarks when he really brought it back to the key issues within population. He wasn't just talking about census and data. He brought it back to women's health. He brought it back to reproduction. And I appreciate that perspective very much. So if we link this then to economics, a McKinsey report from 2018 on the power of parity, gender parity, for advancing gender equality stated that India has one of the most significant opportunities in Asia and Pacific region to boost its economy by advancing gender equality. The report claimed that more than 70% of potential GDP opportunity, that's 770 billion US dollars, could be added by 2025, in the next 2 years, could come from increasing women's participation in the labor force by only 10 percentage points. That's a pretty big return on investment there. So what does this mean, again, if we delve down into India? And I like to look at this as a tale of two trajectories within Indian states. And the professor pointed out some of the data across states. And I think it was clear we saw linkages between women's autonomy, the demographic transition, and economic development. It's clearly visible in India. So if we look at data, when we look at the states that are below replacement level of fertility, and you know which ones those are, we see critical women's empowerment indicators also being more or less in line, whether it's completing at least 10 years of schooling, whether it's meeting unmet need for family planning, or whether it's women's engagement in paid work. So I think it's clear to say and fair to say that when women have control of their fertility, it yields great returns in terms of economic growth for these states. If we look at the states that have total fertility rates higher than replacement level, and again, you know which ones we're talking about, Bihar, Meghalaya, UP, Jharkhand, Manipur, for example, we see that they also fare poorly on the economic front, as well as on indicators linked to women's agency. So whether we're talking about TFR less than replacement level or TFR higher than replacement level, the linkages are clear between women's education, women's autonomy in making decisions about their bodies, women's engagement in paid work, and overall prosperity and human development. So just to wrap up and sum up, let me be clear. Population stabilization should not be the goal we seek. The goal should rather be development through rights and choices. Rather than population stabilization, I would urge policymakers to consider instead population dynamics and creating a population that is resilient to changes, that is resilient to its transition based on choices that people make. So on this World Population Day, I hope that you will join us in reaffirming UNFPA's commitment to place individual rights, especially women's rights and well-being, at the center of population and development policies, and to support new approaches, innovations, and solutions that will undoubtedly come from adolescents and youth, if we choose to unlock it and provide them the proper fora, to help shape a more equitable and prosperous future for India and the global community. So once again, thank you very much for inviting me and for patiently hearing me out on gender equality.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such a positive takeaway. Here's definitely a food for thought where all of us, I think, should really understand the significance of taking accountability, where our actions suggest that gender inclusivity is not a reality that's pushed as far as some 200 years down the line. So here's to fostering a planet and a country that is more gender inclusive, has strengthened women agency links. On that note, we come to the conclusion of this session, which was definitely filled with enlightening discussions and valuable insights. May I please request Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh, Joint Secretary, IASP, to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, and good morning to all of you. Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, respected faculty members, research staff, and all the esteemed participants. On behalf of Indian Association for Study of Population, I stand before you today to extend my heartfelt gratitude and deliver a vote of thanks on this auspicious occasion of the World Population Day. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Anjali Rawat, Deputy Director General of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. We are grateful to you, Madam, for your presence here today and for sharing your invaluable insight on this significant day. Your efforts in promoting population welfare and healthcare are truly commendable. Thank you, ma'am. We would also like to extend our gratitude to Ms. Andrea Warner, the country representative of UNFPA India, and Dr. Sanjay Kumar. Your tireless work in advancing sexual and reproductive health, empowering women, and advocating for family planning is truly inspiring. Your presence here today has added immense value to our discussion. Our heartfelt thanks goes to Dr. Professor Srinivasan, the former director of International Institute for Population Sciences in Mumbai. Your vast knowledge and expertise in field of population studies have enriched our understanding of the challenges and opportunities we face. Your dedication to research and education is truly commendable. We are also thankful to Subrato Mandal of USAID for his continuous guidance and support. And we are also honored to have Dr. Niranjan Sagurti, the Country Director of Population Council of India. Your pioneering research and evidence-based solution, particularly on adolescent health, which you have presented today, have contributed significantly to the field of population and development. We are grateful for your presence today. We'd also like to extend our gratitude to Dr. Chetan Ghate, Director of Institute of Economic Growth, for providing us with platform to host this important event. Your support and encouragement have been invaluable to us, and we are thankful for your commitment for fostering research and knowledge dissemination. We would also like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Suresh Sharma, President of Indian Association for Study in Population, for his unwavering persistence and exceptional leadership in organizing this remarkable event. Dr. Sharma's dedication and commitment have been truly inspiring, as he has worked tirelessly to raise awareness about the global population issues we face today. His vision and guidance have not only shaped this event, but also had instilled in us a sense of purpose and determination to address the challenges and create better future for all of us. Thank you, Master. We would also like to express our appreciation to Dr. Jitendra Yadav, Treasurer of Indian Association for the Study of Population. Your dedication to promoting interdisciplinary population research and fostering collaboration among researchers are truly commendable. We are grateful to your presence and support. We also have among us Dr. Vinod Singh and Dr. Diwakar Yadav, who is a board of trustee of member of board of trustee of Indian Association for Study in Population. Thanks for your support and guidance and being here. We are also thankful to Dr. S.C. Gulati among us, who is the former director of Population Research Center in Delhi. Thank you, sir, for your guidance and support. And we are also sincerely thankful to all the faculties, research staff, and organizing committee of IAG who have worked tirelessly to make this event a resounding success. Your hard work and attention to detail and unwavering commitment have ensured that everything ran very smoothly. And we are immensely grateful to your effort. Lastly, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all the esteemed participants and audience. Your presence here today has made this event truly meaningful. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Before we break, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Before we break for high tea, we welcome if there are any questions from the participants. Any comments, clarifications? So,
Frankly speaking, I enjoyed all the presentations this morning. Starting right from Professor Ghate, Andrea, and Niranjan, they all talked about, somewhere, they talked about the environmental kind of situation. Excepting Srinivasan, because the institution of marriage, that I'll take little later on. If I'm reminded, the kind of IPET framework, population, affluence, and technology, to me it appears, that technology probably is the only rescue for us now. Population, as Andrea says, that we should not bother for population stabilization. Probably I'll partly differ with you on that. Let me not dwell more on that. But affluence and the kind of environment which we have, greater, kind of pollution has been contributed by the developed countries so far, okay? The only panacea which we have at the moment is the fuel consumption transfer. Whether you talk of CNG, you talk of hydrogen, you talk of solar energy, you talk of nuclear, or whatever it is. So in that IPET model, impact, population, affluence, and treatment, probably to me it appears the common thing which is coming out, that technology can be the only panacea for us at the moment. But development possibly, the kind of the composition of the development is also very important, human rights, etc. Coming to the institution of marriage, Professor Srinivasan, I think few years back I was just in some, gender issues. And we talked about these divorce rate increase, single live-in relations, etc. See, a strange argument came from the audience that why we should not take it as women empowerment indices. It's increasing. Idea is increasing, economic development is increasing, divorce rate is increasing, as you have also said. Still, we are marrying very early, because in Andhra we started the whole kind of stuff. They marry early and they stop early also. That is the kind of behavior which is coming up. But living relations, etc. So I don't know the institution of marriage, whether you call it this. It's a very controversial kind of topic, so I won't come to that. But to me, it appears that development is essential, but components of development, population development policy, which Andrea has talked about, but population stabilize also, probably, right from ICPD conference, I would say, we had just put, population or fertility control on the side track. And the kind of indices which you are coming, interstate comparison, which you are also making, the states, if you look at the kind of indices which have been talked about, there is very close correlation. But at the same time, you find that those who are not economically backward, socially backward, everything, a lot of things. So you find, that development is also essential. But population, quality, quantity trade-off, if I really talk. Way back we used to talk about. You are talking about the quality of life. Quality of life and the quantity also, have got interactions. So once I'm talking of as a, kind of a little bit about interactions, population, development, and environment. Environment is very important. Development composition is very important. But population stabilization also, because they interact. You can't say just put one on one side and the other side. So I think I appreciate it. I really appreciate, the kind of things that have come from the audience. And I think this is a very interesting issues which have been raised by everybody. So we should deliberate on that in the afternoon. Thanks a lot.
sir, there is one question from me. One question here.
Thank you. Just wanted to make a quick comment. I found all the presentations very interesting, and I guess many of the things we've already discussed over so many decades about equality and women's choices and so empowerment and all that. But I just wanted to make a quick observation or comment. When India is supposed to have allegedly overtaken China's population this year, April, I remember the Chinese foreign minister was asked about this, and he said, we're not so concerned with numbers as we are about quality, right? So I think this is sort of describes everything that the panel members have spoken about, and that's something we really have to think about. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am. That truly does capture the sense of the day that we are celebrating here today. With that, are there any other questions? Okay. I think with that thought, I request the gathering to please proceed to the front lawns for high tea. And I would also like to request the members on the dais to please proceed for a group photograph. Thank you very much once again. And thank you all. We'll gather back here today in half an hour. So 12:45, we'll join back for session 2.
हेलो 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 चेक चेक हेलो 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 चेक 1 2 3 अरे कैमरा मैन का है वो भाई कैमरा मैन का है हेलो हेलो
Welcome back, everyone. A very celebrated author once remarked, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change," emphasizing on the significance of perspectives and of developing perspectives, in fact. In this light, we gear up for a second session today, where we have the opportunity to delve into a rich tapestry of perspectives, as esteemed speakers from diverse backgrounds come together to share their insights on various issues surrounding population and health governance. We are honored to have with us a distinguished panel of speakers today. Unfortunately, at the last moments, there were a few cancellations, but for the speakers of this session, we have respected DDG Madam Anjali Rawat ji, and we also have with us today Dr. Subratho Mandal, who is affiliated with the USAID. May I please request our esteemed guests to join the dais. Chairing this session is Ms. Andrea Warner, and I request Madam to also please proceed to the dais. Let us all welcome our speakers and the chair with a huge round of applause. May I also please request Professor Suresh Sharma to please proceed to the dais and also present our distinguished guests with a memento as a token of our appreciation. To Madam Subratho Mandal, sir, please. I would also like to request Dr. Jitendra Yadav to please come forward and accept the memento. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our first speaker for the session, Dr. Subratho Mandal, an esteemed expert in monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning in the health sector. Sir is currently positioned with the USAID. With over 30 years of experience and a strong academic background in demography, statistics, and economics, Sir has a proven track record in providing evidence-informed policy advice and building sustainable relationships with stakeholders. Today, Sir will be sharing with us his insights on the role of private sector in promoting the health and well-being of people. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Subratho Mandal as he takes the stage. You took the pen drive, right?
No, mail.
Okay, you have to mail.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So really I'm honored to be here, and I really thank Dr. Suresh Sharma, President of ISP, and also all office bearers to invite me to speak on, present and speak on this topic. But I also want to thank all our distinguished dignitaries here in the dais and also in the audience. So for their patience listening. While we are listening and celebrating 11th July, which is World Population Day, we heard from the beginning in the morning session that there are a lot of milestones we achieved in last few years, and also we see a lot of growth, development happening all around. But at the same time, some of our speakers presented that there are issues all around as well. Now, I start saying that when Niranjan says that we cannot really afford to fail to achieve SDG goal, which is our target is 2030. Now, 2030 SDGs goal, if you see that all our goals are not universal. There are certain where we really want to achieve at up to certain points. But should we stop there? I think we should not. So therefore, I think we need to really think that how we can go there and ensure that when our population is increasing, we have a lot of issues, we have a lot of dependency on the young population. So therefore, who will pay the bill for others? The entire country's population of whatever 1.4 billion. Now, although we know that while public sector, the government is doing their great job to fill those gaps in providing services, whatever way, to reach out to every population, every families, every individuals. And some of us are also working in certain very critical areas like youth, like adolescents, like say maternal and child health, tuberculosis, in many other areas. But end of the day, every person counts, and that's why we need to really see that the entire the number doesn't matter, every person matters. So therefore, we really need to see that where is the gap and how we can go there. And then therefore, I will talk about health and well-being of people and role of private sector in India, how they can also join hands with us and collaborate with each other, with public sectors and with others to make this happen. Now, if we see that SDG goal we have a target till 2030, but then there is an estimate in 2020 by UNDP which says that there is a huge financing gap to really reach the target that we have set for ourselves. And what is that gap? It says $2.6 trillion. Now, that did not count COVID-19, because during COVID-19 we have seen there are a lot of blacksiding happens, and that created another problem for us. Probably now this gap is probably much more. So therefore, I think we really need to see that who will pay this bill and how we can mobilize, and each one of us how we can contribute and collaborate with each other and really see that we are in the path of that target. Now, just to say that when we talk about in India, corporate social responsibility which comes from private sector, just to give you that what we mean by that, it is sometimes we say that 2% of CSR budget needs to be paid in this sector. Now, really that is not the case. Actually, there is a definition, and probably we all should know from because we all are from this sector, should know very clearly what it's about. Now, it says net worth of 500 crore or more, any business, or somebody's turnover is more than 1,000 crore or more, or their net profit is 5 crore or more. So whichever is qualifies, so they are mandatorily subject to spend 2%. Now this 2%, what is that? It is that red one, net profit of 5 crore or more, whatever their net worth profit is, but then they take it 3 years average. So if you are not able to spend in 1 year, probably you can get some time to spend in next year or next year, but at the end of third year, the cumulative amount you have to really spend 2% of that. Now, what does it mean? Now, if we look at that, this bill came in, say, Companies Act, Ministry of Corporate Affairs Company Act 2013 and enacted in 2014 onwards. But then all corporates were struggling that how to spend this, where to spend this. And that is where probably we all can actually play a big role to really guide and contribute that how we can channelize these enormous resources in our country we have for betterment of our neighborhoods. When I say neighborhoods, because that's how you can actually saturate the country. If I think about one state, one area, probably then there will be some place where nobody is going. And that's how we see, and we know that all demographers know that when we disaggregate data, then we see that some places there is huge gap, and some places we have achieved what we are supposed to be achieved at, in compared to any other developed countries. And I'm not going to any disaggregate data in that matter because you all know about it. But if we see the spend, which is during 24 to 19, which is the early age of the CSR came into the picture, we see that there are 26,000 crore was spent during this time. And if you look at where are those spending happening, you will see that the central India and northeastern states are really lacking. And if we look at those demographic indicators, health indicators, and many others, this is a very, very good correlation. But that correlation actually, you need to see much more in a effective way that is there any CSR in those space. If not, then who is actually selling their products in those areas? You really need to extend yourself and stretch yourselves to see that how we can bring CSR resources while government is doing their regular job. And then bridge this gap, and really that will help us to think about how we can really think about many other well-beings. I'm not talking about any MCH or a TB or HIV or anything, but all family, every individuals. I think this is very important to know and then think about how we can do that. Now, if we think about which sector is spending what, now almost 60% is spent in the sectors, three sectors together, education, health, and rural development. But if we add little bit more and two more sectors like environmental sustainability and poverty, hunger, it goes to 70%. But these figures are early figures because what happens was during 2014 to 2017-18, all CSR was struggling that how they really want to spend, and that time there was no such mandatory compliance issue in terms of whether if they are not able to spend. But now, after 2021, so there is a compliance issue. Now, if CSR is not able to spend this amount, there will be a penalty. Now, that's why probably we need to really think that why CSR business corporates are not able to spend, and how we can help them to spend and where to spend. I think, and also at the same time, it is also important that if they spend, then is there any gain for them? I think that is where we need to see. Otherwise, what is happening is there are n number of business houses, they are putting their money. I'll come to the next slide. So this is where probably in the CSR front, there are many other sectors also. I'm not, these are many important sectors. But one area probably people are actually putting the money where is that Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. And you know that when March end comes, CSR see that they could not spend their money, there is no plan, there is no strategy, and then therefore to avoid the compliance, they put the money in the PM CARES. Now, this is where, I think this is definitely. Now government is taking care to spend this, but at the same time, as we see that our neighbors are struggling, so therefore we can really think about how we can help or prepare corporate strategy, CSR strategy, and help them to really spend their money and therefore achieve our SDG goal. And that is where technical expertise comes. And in this room, there is no dearth of that. I think need to think from that angle. Now, what are the different ways we can help? Now, one is thought leadership. Somebody need to think through that where are the things need to go and how it can be spent, where it can be spent, and who can spend, who has a natural alignment with some issues and their CSR and their company business. I think this is where thought leadership comes, and we have a lot of people here who can really think from that angle. And then actually support business houses and companies to really tell them that if you can spend in this way, therefore there is a gain because they have their business responsibility and sustainability report they need to really report every year to Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and then they are able to increase their score of their business of this rating. At the same time, they fulfill the responsibility, but at the same time, they fulfill the compliance. But to do that, in order to do that, there is another cadre really required who can really help to do a lot of evidence generation to prepare some corporate CSR strategy. And some people have already started working, but there are only few. There is a huge demand which can actually come to this sector and really think about how we can unlock fund, which is ideal funding, kept lying somewhere else, can be brought into these sectors and actually help others to do this. But at the same time, capacity building is also required, how these CSRs can be spent. We have a vibrant NGO sectors in our country, but that is probably not enough when this money is available. Now, all NGO sectors are working very hard, diligently, putting all effort, but they have a limitation. So if we can really build some of their capacity to really think about how their healthcare business or their awareness initiatives or many other things can be promoted, probably this is another area for huge capacity building of this sectoral people. And all of this together can only unlock this. One item cannot unlock anything. And that is why collaboration is required. And I'll actually give you some of the example that at USAID we have started. One of the very successful example and initiative we started in 2017 when India thought of making TB-free India. And then there was a huge commitment from ministry and also that development partners working in TB space came together, and USAID took this initiative to kind of just initiate a pledge among few corporates. And it was initiated with the, along with Ministry Central TB Division, and Amitabh Bachchan was brand ambassador because he is a TB survivor and is really champion and always talk about this cause. And at the same time, Ratan Tata was there, tried to mobilize more corporates, and this has really helped us to see that that entire TB elimination program working in different cascades, and different corporates are working in different cascades. Now, as on today, we have more than 450 plus corporates are really working in this space towards India's commitment to TB elimination by 2025. I know this is a huge task. We may or may not reach that stage. We thought that we will hear Dr. Raghu Rao today that whether reaching target is possible or not. Unfortunately, he could not come. But at least we made a full attempt that how we can really work together in a collaborative way that we unlock these sectors and contribute wherever we are in such a way that we are towards that target. Now, so this is only one initiative, but at the same time, when our country hit by COVID-19 in 2020 March, that time we realized that our entire health sectors, including both public and private sector, is actually struggling to really take care of or manage this unknown pandemic. And at that time, there was a huge need to bring and mobilize whoever is trying to work in whichever healthcare dimensions and work collectively. And towards that, now we have initiated another initiative with one of our partners. We and also worked with many industry in this space to really think about what are the needs during COVID time, and then how those needs and demands can be made in a very quick manner, and also for that, how business houses can really access funds from different sectors. Now, this is where we found there are a lot of challenges. What are those challenges? We tried to come up with a lot of startups which can really prove that there is a possibility, and also there are promising innovative products which can be helpful during COVID time. But then when they come into the market, we found that there is nobody to really fund that. Now, everybody feel that this is a really risky proposition to fund such kind of startups where needs are really temporary. Pandemic, everybody thinks that pandemic, okay, so we'll recover that, but then should we fund it or not? So nobody actually interested to fund. Then we initiated a dialogue with government that how we can take the kind of innovative financing route to talk to a bank and take the interest payment from our side. Therefore, fund can be given, just de-risking the financiers so that startup can expand their business and also at the same time meet the need of the people. And that's how it has expanded. And I'm happy to say that we took this risk, and at end of the day, we found that whatever small investment we have done, we have really saw kind of return on investment more than 10 times. Normally, from grant funding, we never see return on investment in this way. But we had to see, because we had to prove to the investors that this is really not the risk you should always think of. And if you can do it meticulously in a systematic manner, there is always a return of investment. It is from the investor's point of view, from the startup point of view, from the business point of view. I think that is where we really need to think about how some thought leadership can really trigger some of the actions which actually accelerate and scale up in the country. Otherwise, our need is enormous, but we do a small project or pilot and then we end there, probably is not the solution. We need to really think how it can be scaled, and not only through the route of public sector, there are private sector out available, and it can be systematically and thoroughly guided. And that guidance, we people really can do this. I'll also tell you that one of the another ways that how we can align with Government of India's difference program. I thought Dr. Joya will be there, so I thought this will be really helpful. when Dr. Joya is here. So we have lots of this kind of mapping we did. And then we talk about how we can invest and collaborate and make a matchmaking with government sector in flagship program and private sector, so that there is always win-win. And also end of the day, we just use the complementary of each other and make success for our well-being of our people. So that's it. I have a small presentation. I promised Dr. Suresh that I will only speak on 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Dr. Subrato. Yeah.
आपने मुझे मेल करी हुई है ना? इसी से ही हो जाएगा। यही है ना? Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful presentation. It truly emphasizes on the significance of how CSR initiatives need to be in solidarity and need to have a sense of camaraderie with public welfare programs as well. Please join me now in welcoming our final speaker of today's event and this session, Ms. Anjali Rawat ma'am, Deputy Director General with the MOHFW, Government of India. Madam is a distinguished leader and visionary in the field of population health. Although we introduce her here today as our distinguished guest, but ma'am, we truly consider you as one of our own. With Madam's expertise in HMIS and her exceptional leadership skills, Madam has spearheaded many transformative initiatives across the division and strengthened the pan-India network of PRCs to great heights. We are honored to have you share your insights and experiences with us today, ma'am. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome Ms. Anjali Rawat to the stage.
So good afternoon, everyone. So the topic that I'm going to speak today is on basically the various digital interventions of the ministry, wherein we can see how our policies and interventions are actually working and how much effort ministry is putting when we say that we launch a particular scheme, we need to monitor that. We need to do a surveillance of those schemes, and how handy these digital platforms come when we look into the development of any particular project. There are survey data also available, like we are only handling the NFHS, but NFHS, as we all know, comes once in 3 years. So for real-time and regular monitoring, there should be some systems in place which would help us to see how we are within those 3 periods till the time the next survey is conducted. So I'll be there are many digital interventions, but basically today I'll be focused on those interventions which are RMNCH based, And HMIs, of course, would also be catering to some other initiatives of the ministry. So as I was mentioning in the morning, that population health is an approach to the health that aims to improve the health of an entire human population. And it basically consists of 3 components: the health outcomes, patterns of health determinants, and policies and interventions. And I'll focus on the interventions part of the population health. So what is a surveillance system? As I'm talking about the surveillance system, it is something which helps the health practitioners to assess and monitor the change in the population health and make recommendations for actions. So a systematic, ongoing collection, analysis, dissemination of data ensures that the right information is available at the right time to take informed public action, health action. And how do we do that? Through the help of these surveillance systems that are in place. So when National Health Mission was launched, initially we launched a National Rural Health Mission that was in 2005. It was launched to provide accessible, affordable, quality health care to the rural population, mostly to the vulnerable groups. But we need to see how our policies are working in that area. But then during that the point during 2005 was we were still discussing on these surveillance systems in place, because we were providing services, but we were not able to capture what we were providing. Then came National Urban Health Mission in 2013 with the same mandate. So the basic components they were covering is health system strengthening, RMNCH plus A activities, communicable diseases, NCDs, etc., etc. But now to monitor that, we needed a surveillance system in place, and so health management information system. So health management information system is a web-based system. It is a government portal which is working all across the country. We are around 2.25 public health facilities are reporting data on health management information system on monthly basis. And the data that we are capturing is on the service delivery as well as the infrastructure. So just to give the, how did we start with? We started in 2008-09. Initially, when the reporting started on the portal, we were reporting at the district level. And 2011-12, we started reporting at the facility level. 16-17, there were around 2 lakh facilities we started reporting. 17-18, we brought in the new formats, new policies, new programs came into existence. 19-20, we went for a revamp of HMIs. I'll tell you what do we mean by revamp and why we initiated that process. And currently, we are also working of revamping our schedules. So a lot of new schemes of the ministry, which we have currently rolled out in the ministry, are all now giving their information on the health management information system. Now, as I've already mentioned, 2.25 lakh facilities are entering the data on monthly basis in the system. So we expect there might be lot of quality issues which come into picture. But to manage the system, I'll just tell you how the system works. We have a core team in the ministry, which is under Statistics Division, that is under me. We have a team of public health experts. We have a team of statisticians and a technical team which look into the development of the portal. Then we have, all the states have their national health missions. We have dedicated staff, dedicated nodal officers for HMIS everywhere. So it's a complete network, a system which is built in place by the Government of India, and everywhere when we are going for capacity holding and capacity building, we are training our nodal officers at the state level, and they train their district and these block level people down below, so that whatever new we bring in the system gets percolated down below the facility level. And that is why the facilities are able to report in the system. But yes, we understand we have a lot of practical difficulties when we go in the field. We don't have regular data entry operators working. The MOs are so busy providing services during the COVID time, we could see a fall in the services reported on the portal. That is because there are practical difficulties. But this is one system of the ministry which is running full-fledgedly across the country. And it is one tool which is used by all the mission directors and principal secretaries in their respective states to monitor the progress of their schemes. And at the national level, of course. So we brought in new features in the HMIS. We made it very flexible. We made it very compatible with all the mobiles and tabs. So you can open in the tab, it can be opened in a desktop everywhere. We have a lot of validation and inconsistency checks which are inbuilt in the systems. We have APIs through which we can connect it to the any system. So the major problem when we go in the field is, what we listen from the field people is that there are n number of portals we have to enter data in the ministry, because there are many line listing programs as well. So it becomes very tedious and difficult for the lowest staff to enter. So what we have done is we have created web-based services in the system. Those are called APIs. So it is very easy to link our HMIS system to any other portal. So in case we have a beneficiary-wise portal which is reporting data, we can form linkages with that particular portal, and the data from in a consolidated forms come into the system. So I missed a point. A consolidated data comes in the HMIS. We don't have beneficiary-wise data in HMIS. That is a separate portal. I'll be touching upon that portal as well, but in very brief. So these are some of the features. We are also LGD compliant, that is local government directory. So whenever a system needs to interact with any other systems, there should be a primary key. So we have national identification number, which is related to each and every facility. Lot of other features that are available is that we have data visualization through GIS, we have interactive dashboards in the system. There are a lot of standard reports which are available in the public domain, and it is the one system which is widely used by all the development partners, all the researchers to analyze the health condition of the country. So we have real-time reports available, standard reports, few analytic reports are also available. Lot of e-learning material is available, but that in the login domain. And we are periodically checking the data quality by holding lot of capacity building workshops across the country. So flow of data in HMIS is directly from each and every facility. So you can see all the facilities, they have an interface given, they have a user ID, password, they enter the data, and the data flows directly into the national system. Okay, so these are the service delivery which we are capturing. We are capturing reproductive and child health. We are capturing ANCs, PNCs, and child immunization, national vector-borne programs, mortality details, health facility services, quality control. So as we know that in India, we have around 5 to 6 facility types, a sub-center, a PHC, a CHC, SDH, DH. So we have a separate format for each of these facility types, because all the facilities does not provide similar services. So we have a separate dedicated format for each and every facility type. So according to the services they are providing, we have a format for them. Similarly, we are also capturing physical infrastructure. We are also capturing lab tests, services, biomedical equipments, governance, human resource, everything. So this is a new initiative which we have taken. We have recently shifted, not recently, when we went for a revamp, we have shifted that to monthly basis. So when we need to triangulate the data of service delivery with infrastructure, it becomes very easy on the monthly basis. So if a particular facility is providing me 100 OPDs in a day, I need to see how many doctors are actually placed there. So if my report says no doctors, so it is an alert to the system. So that means there is a wrong reporting. Or if I say 100 OPDs and my doctors are 2 in number, so I'll find 100 OPDs a little less. So the state can always rationalize their HR on the basis of what HMIS gives them. So it gives you wide variety of data which can be used in any number of ways. We can triangulate the service delivery data with infrastructure. We can also see how many lab tests actually are being provided. So if some facility is showing 100 lab tests, but there is no lab technician available. So that again opens our mind and see whether we are properly reporting the data or there is a need for rationalization. So a lot of things can be done with such kind of data which is available in the open domain also. So these are the reports which are available, standard reports, easily we can download them, real-time reports, analytic reports, dashboards are available to the district level, and we have a GIS representation. So this is how the standard reports look. So I don't know how much it is visible, but this is the health management information system, and these are the reports available. You can easily download these reports in the Excel. We have query-based customized reports. So if particular facility a particular district wants to see the assessment of the facilities under them, they can choose the data elements which they want to look upon, and accordingly, they can take out the reports. Real-time reports are there. Lot of analytic reports are there. So I'll just rush through. These are dashboards which are available in the system. We have GIS inbuilt, heat maps are there. You can choose the indicator. It will be completely reflected in the heat maps. So we'll be able to, if you want to see anything in the portal, it is easily visible through this GIS. Now coming back to the usage of HMIS. I am very vocal when we talk about the HMIS usage because it is one portal. First, I've already mentioned it is a pan-India portal which each and every state is reporting data except Rajasthan, which is reporting in their own portal, but the data flows into the national portal. It is the only source of data which is helpful when we are working on the conditionalities in the ministry. If we need to divulge the funds, we have to disperse the funds, then this is the only source of data where we look into how many FRUs are there. On the basis of that, we are allocating the funds. Whether we are meeting the immunization guidelines, we are meeting the percentage. So everything, all the data, all the baseline data comes from HMIs. Niti Aayog does district hospital ranking. So if you've seen 2017 report of district hospital ranking is out. It is there in the public domain. So the basis of data on which this report was taken out was HMIs. They're also working on 2021-22 district hospital ranking. So all the data, all the baseline data is HMIs. HMIs is also used for state health index. This is also another initiative of Niti Aayog. You must have seen, I think, 5th or 6th round of state health index is out. So all the baseline data is HMIs. HMIs is also used for our common review missions, which ministry undertakes when they visit, when a group of 10 to 12 people visit the fields and they observe the performance of that particular block or a district, then again they take along with them the data which is reported by the states, by the facilities in the HMIs. We have a lot of scorecards available where a district can see its performance in comparison with other districts in a particular state or across the country as such. We are giving data for Disha portal, that is, we are also giving data for rural development. We are also giving data for Prime Minister's Prayas portal. Data is also running into the HFM's dashboard. So I'll say HMIS is one source which will give you the information on each and every aspect of the government policies. There are a lot of publications which are based on HMIS. There's an annual HMIS publication report. I need to update this. We are out with 1920 report as well, and I think 2021 also. And we have a health and family welfare statistics in India. It is also a publication of ministry which quotes HMIS data. UP takes out its HMIS bulletin, and Chhattisgarh also takes out their bulletin known as Swasthank. Okay, so what is HMIS? Basically, how you can, I gave you this example initially, like if we want to see MON specialist, which is available. So number of HR that is available is around 4146, just an example. And OPD attendance per MON specialist, it works out to be 301.23. So we see the output, this is around 605. So 25 OPDs per day. So this is just an example to calculate the amount of OPD which an MO is doing per day. So on the basis of that, lot of rationalization at the field level can be done. Again, we can see the trends in the service delivery. So what is the OPD attendance over the years? So this can be drilled down till the facility level. So if you want to monitor at the district level, that is more useful because sometimes some facilities are not reporting OPD. It goes to the higher facilities where they report. Then we can see the assessment of the public facilities. So that is all interrelated. Okay, so this was basically HMIS. I've given you the overview of what HMIS is giving. It gives the consolidated data at the facility level on the monthly basis on the service delivery and infrastructure and its uses as well. Now this was the consolidated data. Now if we want to look into the beneficiary wise data, so there's another portal which is running in the ministry that is called RCH, and it has a lot of allied interventions as well. So RCH application has been designed for early identification and tracking of individual beneficiary throughout the reproductive life cycle. So application facilitates to ensure timely delivery of full component of antenatal, postnatal delivery services and trachea children for complete immunization services. So it tracks the couple when they're eligible. So we call them eligible couples. So when they're married and into a certain age, 19 to 49, we capture them as eligible couples. So all this capturing is done by ASHAs and ANMs in the field. And till the time the mother delivers and the child is 5 years, we are monitoring the child. We are monitoring the full immunization of the mother and the child also in the portal. So this is again the journey of RCH. We started with mother-child tracking system in 2009, and later on we have also developed RCH registers which are able to capture the information at the facility level. And then in 2021 we brought in new concepts and new schemes into the system, and currently we are working for a revamping. So when I was telling about the revamping of HMIS, I missed on a point that we revamped our HMIS in 2019-20 because we initiated the program in 2008. So over the years, there was a lot of technology changes in the system that was required. So we shifted from the physical infrastructure to cloud-based structure. We also formed a lot of APIs. We brought in new easy modules in the system. So as and when the technology develops, we need to revamp our systems, because that is the requirement of the scenario. So again, we are in the process of revamping our RCH 2.0 with the assistance of UNICEF. So we are planning to come out with this new portal by end of this year. Okay, so we have a lot of features in RCH currently. We don't have to do any kind of new registrations when a beneficiary comes into, means whenever a beneficiary enters into an RCH portal, she gets an RCH ID, which can be searched anywhere across the country. So if I've been given an RCH ID and I stay in Delhi, and if I go to Pune, then I can easily be tracked even in the RCH portal in the Pune. So you don't have to do double registration. It's a cloud, RCH is again a cloud-based system, so it's very fast. We have village level registration. We have SMS alerts, which can be sent to the beneficiaries and the health workers. Then I was reading through one of the studies of your outlook on the special issues. So there is one chapter on data dividends. So this was a study which UNFPA has done in Odisha. So I'm just quoting a paragraph from them. It is stating that ANMs also identified high-risk pregnant women during VHSNDs, and they were given red card. Now, high-risk pregnancies can easily be captured through RCH portal as well. So when ANM is logging into an RCH portal, she can put the data of the beneficiaries in her area, and there are certain data elements which help her to decide that particular pregnancy is a high-risk pregnancy. So whenever she puts the parameters of the pregnant lady, that alert goes into her system that this is a high-risk pregnant woman. So on the basis of the report that comes out from the RCH portal, it becomes very easy for the ANM and ASHAs to track down that lady through her whole cycle of pregnancy. So, and again, ANMs also developed a birth preparedness plan for each pregnant woman in order to encourage institutional birth in the 7th month of pregnancy. So when we talk about the preparedness plan, so there is already a due list which can be created for ANM and ASHA in the system. So when she puts the data of her beneficiaries in that area, she gets her due list, means she'll get what services she has to provide to each and every beneficiaries over a month, over 2 months, over the complete cycle of the pregnant woman till she delivers. So these are some things which are readily available for ASHA ANMs in the field. So this RCH portal becomes very easy for the ANMs to work in the field. So there are around 25.47 crores eligible couples which are registered on the portal since its inception in 2010. There are around 23.76 pregnant women who are registered, 20.63 crores children who have registered, and around 17.01 lakh health workers which have been registered in the system. Currently, RCH is working in 30 states. There are few states who have their state-specific portals, but we are looking forward to integration with them. So, like Madhya Pradesh is working on their own system. West Bengal is only giving us the consolidated figures. Rajasthan is having PCTS. They already have an RCH-based system which is state-specific. So we are working for integration with these 6 states which we are missing on. Okay, so when I talk about RCH, RCH is a desktop-based version. So if there is only RCH, then the ANM has to go in the field. She has to record her findings in a register. Whenever she comes into the block, she will enter the data. So this lag was there in system reporting. So we thought of developing an ANM online, that is Anmol app. It is a replica of RCH. It can be opened in a tab. It can be opened in mobile. So initially, government when launched Anmol, we had given tablets to the states for the ANMs, and the ANMs goes with the tablet into the field and directly reports the data in the tabs, and it flows into the central system. So that time lag was reduced when Anmol came into the system. So Anmol is nothing, it is same as RCH, but only an tablet version of the RCH. So recently, as you all know, that ministry had launched Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So all the portals of the ministry need to abide with the recommendations and guidelines of ABDM. So we are also creating an Abha ID. You must be aware of Abha IDs. These are the unique IDs which every individual will have here. So for a pregnant woman, we call them Abha IDs. So whenever a woman comes and registers into the RCH portal, she is also given an Abha ID. So Abha ID can be opened from any place across the country, and in the second stage of ABDM suggests us that we need to link her health record with the Abha ID. So if I have been given X as my Abha ID, so if I give my consent, all my health records over past 1 year or 2 years will get attached to my health record. So, and finally, if I give a consent to any doctor to open my health record and check, then using my consent, any doctor can see my health records over past few years. So this is the ABDM mission which RCH portal has already ventured into. We are creating around 10 lakh Abha IDs have already been created on RCH, and we have also linked their health records with their Abha IDs. So it becomes easy for a beneficiary in the field not to carry all her documents every time when she's going in the field. She just needs to know her Abha ID, and she can go to any doctor, and the doctor opens her health record and can see all her history of her health. We are also in the process of integrating with Portion Tracker, that is WCD's tracker, which mainly caters to the nutritional aspect of the pregnant woman. So when nutritional and delivery aspects club together, we'll have a more holistic picture. So we are already in the process of integrating with them, which is almost halfway through. So maybe by end of this year again, we'll be able to see both the data together. RCH portal, I'll miss on these, not required. Okay. So another allied initiative of RCH is Kilkari and Mobile Academy. So Kilkari, we know in Hindi means baby gurgle. So these are some time-bound 72 audio messages about pregnancy, about childbirth, childcare, directly reaching to the pregnant woman or the families of the pregnant woman on their mobile phones from the second trimester of the pregnancy till the child is 1 year. So these are time-bound messages. So if a pregnant lady has entered into a second trimester, she'll be getting messages related to her health care during that time. When she's delivered a baby, she'll be getting messages on how the child has to be taken care of. So they are time-bound messages which are reaching the beneficiary. And now where will we get these data of beneficiaries? From the RCH portal. So when we are registering a mother in the RCH portal, we are also taking her mobile numbers. But again, there are a lot of difficulties because generally in the rural areas, the woman is not having a mobile phone. So either her husband is having or a family member. So now we are working on a revised version of KMA wherein we will send the messages when she wants the message to reach her. So during the daytime, if her husband is in the field, she'll not be able to reach through those messages. So we take her permission, what time you want to see those messages. So she'll say during 8 o'clock at night when her husband is back, because her phone will be easily available to her. So now we are working towards that version where we will send the messages as per the requirement of the beneficiary and as on the time she indicates. We are also working on the WhatsApp messages now. We are doing a pilot now currently, wherein in few states we are doing that pilot, wherein the messages and few videos will be directly sent to the mother or the family member on their WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is something which everybody is using. So why not we utilize it to the fullest? So we are sending some small videos of the healthcare of the child, of the healthcare of the mother, what she should eat when she should go to visit a doctor, and if she's having fever, what medicine she should take. So all the issues concerning her health during her pregnancy period and till the child is 1 year, we are able to send her these messages through this WhatsApp. Then Mobile Academy is another initiative which is mainly for the ASHA workers. So we have a lot of trainings which ministry run for the ASHAs. But these are very certificate-based studies. You need to finish those trainings, only then you will be an ASHA. So other than that, when you have completed a training and ASHA is working in the field, so over the period of time, she tends to forget or tends to understand what new is coming in the ministry. So this is a academy. These are certain chapters which we have inbuilt in a short code 14424. So when an ASHA enters 14424, this services starts. So she can hear to those chapters and through those guidelines which are there in the ministry. And whenever she wants, whenever she's not having her time, she can immediately cut the call, and next time when she makes a call again on the same number, her chapter starts from there. So this is a regular capacity building of ASHAs. So rather than following a protocol training program which ministry conducts, this is something which is very handy in her hand. She can anytime call and get through this capacity building cycle, and then at the end, when she completes those 8 chapters, I suppose there are 8 chapters, there are around 8 chapters. So when she completes those chapters, she will get a certificate at the end. So this is not used anywhere. It is only for her capacity building over the years. So Kilkari is rolled out in 18 states, and so is Anmol. We have around 49.87 successful calls which we have made, and we are currently Mobile Academy is also running in 70 states. To add to this, we have a call center which is placed in Munirka. If any of you want to visit, you're most welcome to visit. It is open for everyone. This is a call center which assists the Kilkari and Mobile Academy. So again, the phone numbers is floated through the RCH portal, and we have 86 call agents which are sitting in the call center. We have health experts also. They make regular calls to the beneficiaries and help them through their full pregnancy cycle. So if any pregnant woman is having any doubt on a particular facility she's not able to get, or any health problem she's facing but she's not able to go to the hospital or whatever, so we have health experts team also which sits in the call center, and she can be brought on the phone and these matters can be discussed with her. But yes, those medical experts do not provide her full-fledged treatment. They will just suggest, a suggestive treatment is given, but they always recommend her to go to the nearest facility. So this is, again, we are also working on the rebuilding of MCTFC. We are opening it for the other programs of the ministry. So again, this is revamp of MCTFC is underway. Since its inception, we have already made 1.54 crore calls to the beneficiary, and 18.70 lakh calls have been made to ANM and ASHA. So calls also go to the ANM ASHAs, asking them whether you are aware of a certain scheme which the ministry is running. Are you aware that you will also be getting any kind of benefits if you provide such services? So all this, these transcripts and the scripts and the messages are all vetted by the program divisions and the schemes of the ministry, and then only we work as an interface of providing this information to ANMs and ASHAs.
Because we're running a bit over time.
Last slide.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So there were a few more, but I'll skip. Thank you. I'm very happy to discuss these digital interventions because it requires a lot of technical minds in place when we work on these digital portals. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. No, it's okay. I spoke too much.
So thank you very much, Dr. Subrato and Anjali, for 2 very interesting presentations. The first was on the role of the private sector. And I think it was very clear that the government's legislation on corporate social responsibility is extremely innovative. It's really, and also quite unique. Not many countries have such legislation. But I think the challenge that was pointed out was how to optimize that. how to really make best use of those funds, where they're needed, by whom and when, and make it an efficient process. So thank you very much. And Anjali, thank you so much for pointing out and really explaining to us in great detail how the data is collected and used, and how particularly it's being operationalized by ASHAs and others. I don't know how the next steps are taken for planning and decision making, but I can only imagine that this kind of data is extremely useful and will become even more useful as it becomes more sophisticated with increasing digitalization of the data. So thank you very much, both of you. I don't know if we want to open it up for some questions or comments. We have one here, two. Any others? Three. Okay. Professor.
Fine, thank you. Well, firstly, I would like to compliment Anjali for a wonderful presentation on the monitoring system and the latest with her passion. I would like to congratulate you and the ministry for the good job being done. Secondly, about Subrato's presentation, it was excellent, but I have just one small little comment about it, that is about the CRS. We have corporate social responsibility, what we are talking of, but as you mentioned that by the end of the year they have to push in the money, they just put it in the pool of PM CARE. I am not against PM CARE, but PM CARE is a huge pool where everything gets blended. So what I propose, I think recently we all know that along with the, just like corporate social responsibility, now we have scientist social responsibility which has been put in place. I would extend the scientist social responsibility to the scientific body, academicians, who are also scientists and researchers and everything, and the administrators. We people at the age of 60, 65 with a huge body of knowledge, one day retire. And everybody is not able to utilize all their body of knowledge, experience, particularly the practical experiences and stories which help in making the programs of success. So what I propose that, as you mentioned, global think tank or whatever it was, you mentioned about the people, I would like to propose that there should be a huge board with all the superannuated, why I'm using, because they have plenty of experience plus the time, those, they can be sort of, made as part of the board, these members, they can think what are the areas in which field of, whether it is health, nutrition, education, or a combination of all these. I am a nutritionist, but I wouldn't say that I'm not a person who will address the issues on nutrition, health, and education, and many other. And also the part of the country or the state or anything, that can be worked out. And then we have the private sector who have money. We have the academicians and scientists who have the knowledge. So I think the two can be clubbed. And I propose that instead of PM CARE or anybody like that as a huge body, let it be the private sector XYZ organization also be a part of which project they want to pick up for their corporate social responsibility, which area, which state, so that over there the visibility of this private sector will also be there, and we have the knowledge of all the scientific board or whatever you can name it as the academicians and all, whole huge experience which can help in putting the project in place. But along with that, there must be time-to-time management and surveillance and our evaluation, because unless we do the impact evaluation, we cannot show where we were and where we have reached. So all these things should be clubbed in, and I think then will be the actually effective use of corporate social responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe you can pass, yeah, thank you.
And I'll be very brief in my question and comment. because I'm expecting longish answers both from Anjali as well as Subrata. When this HMIS, firstly to Anjali, because when HMIS was started in 2005, PRC Devi was actually involved in that, and that time Praveen and Ruchi, Praveen and Ruchi, they both were there who had started the whole thing. So we started with about 48, kind of consistency, kind of checks when you do it at the data entry level. Then we did a study on behest of UNFPA, where Nilesh and Sanjay, they were involved. This was for Bihar. We came out with a report, but report probably was not published, which I feel. Our experience with I'm really worried about the quality of the data, HMIS. You say uses of data. Recently we had some, seminar at NIHFW where Paul was there, Dr. Paul. And they are coming out with a kind of health index, district level health index, 704, which you have also mentioned. I don't know what kind of indicators they have picked up from HMIS, etc. My question is that despite all those kind of, interventions which we did from almost 2005 to this evaluation study was done somewhere in 2011-12 when I was in NIHFW as a project coordinator. Our experience with the quality of data was not that good. And you say uses of the data probably even by the ministries, different ministries, the uses of HMIS data is not much. Frankly speaking, I mean, you don't take it as a critical kind of comment, what I'm saying. Basically, what I'm trying to say, that MCTS, which is, of course, beneficiary-based, and HMIS, which is facility-based data, they both should have been integrated. That was our recommendation, one of the recommendations when we did our study also. Because it will improve the quality of the data, and it will also reduce the budget like anything. So when you say that HMIS-2 was initiated in 2020-21, that is what presentation was said. What basic changes you made from HMIS-1 and 2? HMIS-1, because I'm quite familiar, because we did for capacity building and then we did evaluation study in Bihar also. This is for Anjali, if she can respond. See, basically, when you're looking at, the 500 and plus 450 plus corporate houses and business houses also, and you have a lot of CSR fund, and they're spending money on 5 top, kind of, I'm linking it with the SDGs now, okay? Do you have any regulatory mechanism for spending the money? Because that needs a lot of research, frankly speaking, because all the 4 or 5 sectors which you say, whether it is health, education, right, or the rural development, they're all interacting with each other. And basically, when the questions are raised in the ministry, they normally ask you, because I still remember question was asked to me way back, that what is the cost of averting a birth? So these kind of, if you have got relative significance of these expenditures in different sectors, they will have spillover effects also. You see, it's not one. If you're putting on rural development, it will also have effect on the ad, which need all intersectoral. So for deciding the regulatory mechanism also, probably some research should have been done, I'm not saying. But I'm interested more in that how you define the relative importance of different sectors and these kind of spillover effects which you have from one to the other, then you can easily guide them for optimal utilization of the funds. Okay? Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Who would like to answer first? Anjali.
Sir, your point very well taken on the quality aspect, but I would not completely agree with what you are saying. You did a study in 11-12. We shifted to new portal in 19-20, 20-21. So there are a lot of changes that we have brought. I did not mention in detail because my presentation would go throughout the day then. So there are a lot of standards which we have brought in the system so that it is easily integrated. So first step, when you talk about integration with RCS, we need to develop a system itself in such a position that it can be integrated with any other portal. So we have inbuilt APIs in the system. We have a standard primary key which is required for integrating it with any other system. We have shifted to the cloud base, so it becomes very faster. So initial, when we talk of the data quality, the people were not able to enter the data into the portal because it did not run properly. So they used to close their registers and keep it. We will not enter, you come and check our registers. But that problem has been resolved. Now people are actually entering the data in the system. Regular capacity building workshops at the state level, district, block is being done. One step. We are giving extra funds for doing that. Secondly, we have lot of inconsistency checks, validation checks, which are inbuilt in the system. So a child cannot be more than the parent. So they will stop the data entry operator there and then. He will not be able to enter the data. We are also working on lot of validation checks for new system, new formats which we are launching. We have also brought in picture the IPHS latest guidelines. So infrastructure format, which was very long initially and everybody could not enter the data, so most of the things were left vacant. So if I'll give you a very weird example, how many sexual harassment cases are there in a facility? I used to get figure as 10, 20. Whether any MO will sign that paper to enter? No. So the MO is not taking the responsibility to check the data before it is being entered into the portal. So we have made a person-specific user ID and password, mostly for a data entry operator and second level for the MO in charge. So we are also bringing an OTP system in place. So whenever the data is entered the system, that OTP will go to the medical officer. So he will be little vigilant what he is entering to the national system. So again, we are bringing a responsibility in place. So whatever data entered will be cross-checked and verified by the MO when he's entering the data into the portal. So this will ultimately reduce the abrupt quality of data that is coming into the system. You also mentioned about integration. So I've already told that when we are shifting to the new portal, we brought in those standards in place. RCH 2.0 is coming in position now in 6 months. Along with that, a UWIN portal is also being launched by the ministry. UWIN, RCH, and HMIs need to speak to each other. Otherwise, whatever figure you're getting in HMIs will never be same as what you're getting in RCH. First, the total number of states here are 36. Here only 30 states are reporting. Here we are only public health facilities, but in RCH we are also having private facilities reporting the data. So in order to match all this, this is the ultimate solution what you are referring to, integration. And we are also already working towards that parameter. And the ultimate focus of the ministry would be line listing projects. Only then we'll be able to monitor each and every beneficiary. Consolidated data will not help you. It will help on the overall average, what I'll say, performance of a district, but will never be able to cater to the block level. Now, NITI is learning a block level program, ABP, aspirational block. So when I give HMIs data, I'm not getting any kind of figures because a particular gram panchayat is not a delivery point, a village, or a block is not a delivery point, but they are giving services. So how will I triangulate this data? Not possible. So only line listing programs will help us in future, and that is the vision of the ministry, and we're working towards it. I hope I've covered all your points.
Thank you. Subrata?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for raising a very important point that probably, yes, there is a lot of research is required, but at the same time, there are some checks and balance in place already by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So they get report from every business houses, their annual report. That annual report specify that what is the net profit they are making. But at the same time, so when you give that, so then also you really need to give mandatorily another report, which is that how you have spent that money. And also, while spending that money, what are the different outcomes you are able to achieve? For example, one of the best outcome I see, probably we need to see a couple of years in coming times, that what is the number of percent illness time you have seen in this year. And every year, if you report it, then you will be able to see that what is the kind of amount of illness time you are able to reduce in your organizations. And then you relate with what is the amount of spending per capita. And then therefore it will give you a really good identifier that how we are making efforts towards that. And at the same time, there are a lot of other compliance-related issues in place in terms of which is related to ma'am's point that how people like you can be really make some contribution in these sectors. 2021 Ministry of Corporate Affairs made an amendment in the Corporate Social that Companies Act, which says that every company who are in that category need to have 2/3 of their board of directors and independent directors. And that independent directors come from normally these kind of people who are really in these sectors and guide people, and they are really looking for those people. I think that is where your kind of experience and expertise come to guide them where it can be spent, how it can be spent, and then how it can really help fulfill their corporate responsibility, increase their score, therefore their share price goes up. At the same time, their business revenue goes up. I think this win-win situation, that's why you are talking about, sir, optimization of the investment. I think that is where research is needed. Probably we can really help together in that. And we have already started working on this direction. And some of the consulting firms like, say, Deloitte and many others already started working on those directions. Probably we can really learn from them and then see how it goes. There are a lot of opportunities out there. So that's how I will see.
Last question here. Microphone.
And designation. So it has become a fashion, but it is not the real use of GIS in integration of health information or health data. Data should be collected based on location data. Location is a latitude and longitude. Health facilities should be first located first. Then it should be linked with the attribute data. Then it should be linked with the auxiliary data. Then visualization come. So my point is that please integrate in your study or data collection system. It is there, but I think it is missing from the data collection point.
Is there from the facility itself.
So why I am saying that this data, if you are having, you can do a multiple kind of analysis like overlay, buffering. These kind of analysis can be done, and this is most required. And by using this new National Geospatial Policy recently released by the Government of India in December 2020, that policy says that every decision in the country should be based on the geospatial data. And geospatial technology should be used in planning and dissemination. So my submission is to integrate all these things in your study. That will be helpful. And my a small proposal is that make a thematic mapping, national thematic mapping for all the indicators. That will be helpful for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for a very rich session. I'll turn back over to our hostess.
Thank you very much once again to our distinguished speakers. It is very heartening to note the kind of responses that the CSR as well as the HMIS portal has garnered over these deliberations. And I once again thank the chair for facilitating this session. Thank you, ma'am. Let me please take a moment here to introduce before you Dr. Jitendra sir. Sir is the treasurer with ISP and has significantly contributed to the strengthening of the association. I kindly request Dr. Jitendra Kumar, treasurer ISP, to extend a formal vote of thanks, please.
So now we are all in the end of the today event. So I know you are all starving and eagerly waiting for lunch, not much interested for vote of thanks, but it is our duty. So I feel honored to have the chance to express my gratitude on behalf of IASP and IEG and myself also. So firstly, I want to sincerely thanks to Mr. Anjali Rawat, DDG Statistics, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, for her valuable insight from HIMS and also for the financial support for this event. Madam, we are truly appreciated your help. We are honored to have the Dr. Subrato Mandal from USAID India with us. Your continuous support both in attending our all event like regional conference, annual conference and any other program and providing financial aids is highly valued. Your presence is ISP program is always in chairs. I am also thankful to the today session chair, Ms. Andrea Wojanar, resident representative of UNFPA India and country director for the Bhutan, and for her excellent remark on the population stabilization. I extend my heartiest thanks to our dynamic and energetic president of ISP, Professor Suresh Sharma, for his encouragement and guidance throughout the preparation of execution of this event. Thank you, sir. I am also, as a treasurer, I have my duty to acknowledge the financial support for this event. So I would like to thanks to Dr. Chetan Ghate, Director of Institute Economics, IG, providing us the necessary logistic support to successfully completing this event. Similarly, I express my sincere gratitude to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare for their truly ingenious support towards the ISP, as they have already done in the past also. We are also fortunate to have the extreme personality like our past president, Dr. S.C. Gulati, and the country director, UNFPA, Dr. Niranjan Sagruti, and your presence, your blessing means a lot of us, sir. And lastly, I want to take the opportunity to thanks to all ISP, EC and BOT members, especially Dr. Binod and Dr. Divakar, Board of Trustee member who are presenting here, and Dr. Ajay is the Joint Secretary of the ISP. And finally, I special thanks to all the team member of the IG, including name Dr. William Joy, Dr. Gudakesh, Bandana, Priyanka, Bindya, Vicky, Amarjit, Aditi, Purva, Sangam, and Rahul for their dedicated effort for this occasion. Thank you all. Friends, if time is money, then today you have invested greatly in us. I extend my thanks to all of you for making this event successfully. Enjoy the beautiful rain in Delhi, and please help yourself to join us the delicious lunch. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. We'll now